I don't even know where to start from, right? It was a lot of impactful messages right there. Thank you so much, Mr. Tangod. My daughter is almost full. Is yours full? Yes, it is. Okay, so now it's parent reflection moment. I want us to just reflect on some of the things that you've heard, some of the action points. Can you turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor that thing that you want to write down now? Then you give them a high five because they may tell you something that you may want to also write down. So turn to your neighbor and tell them that thing that you learned from this session. So just tell them quickly and then you write it down. You people are just smiling at me. Oh, you have not started. Okay. Yes, I can see. Okay, so now we are writing. Okay. Okay. So I can't see the high fives rolling. No. Are we not done talking? High five, not a low one. High one. High one. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move to our next section. Now moving to the next session. So when Mr. Tangod was talking, he was talking about screens and screens, So we are navigating, as we navigate parenting today, one major influence we cannot ignore is technology. True or false? Okay. So from screens to social media, our children are growing up in a world very different from the one we knew and navigated. So this requires a lot from us. Our next session, Parenting in the Digital Age, will equip us with the parenting tools to raise not just tech-savvy children, but digitally wise children. Our speaker is a technology expert who understands both the opportunities and the risks of the digital era. He's passionate about helping families find balance and build healthy digital habits. He's the CEO, Tech Lead Innovation Hub. Please join me as we warmly welcome Mr. Caleb Akubo. Please put your hands together. Please make the round of applause bigger. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Mrs. Incha, for the honor. I have a very, very short time to do something I'm very passionate about. So we will just try and do as much as we can. And one of the things on interacting with the organizers of the conference was that there was a strong bias for practical applicability today. And I'm very happy I'm coming after Mr. Tango's session when he has talked about, to a large extent, some of the things that I would like to do. I would have loved to talk about. And that was a very powerful session, sir. Thank you so much. I like she said, my notes also, I took notes. I especially liked the example that you opened with the, analogy of assessing a child's output without appreciating the level of effort that has been put into it. Children are living like we will still hear it. We will still emphasize again that the times are really different. What I would like this session to do is for us to be able to understand how different the times are. Right? What exactly is the main difference? Right? And then you're just making the mic better. I will just become a pastor in this place now. And then we'll have practical applicability that we can take from here. I see some of us Gen Z. My wife is Gen Z. So sometimes she used to throw jabs at me, especially when I'm insisting on certain things with my son. So you this. I said, I'm not that far. I'm not, the difference in us is not much. So I'm seeing a lot of young people, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know if everybody here is married with yeah. I feel like I'm going to now just begin to pray in the Holy Ghost. It'd be nice if everybody here is married, but I think not. But then also that's a very good thing because now you have a balanced approach towards approaching the question or the subject of parenting. And I think to a large extent, these things should even happen in marital, premarital conversations when you are dating, because at the end of the day, the philosophy that you hold would influence how you will raise your children. And if you don't have the same understanding, certain things will feel off. I went to a barbing salon with my son, and they were playing what they play in barbing salons, and I insisted that they should change it. There's a baby here. And the rest of the guys were offended. How old is this boy? He doesn't even know what's going on. And I said, look, I will not even take parenting advice from you. So it's either you change it or we go, you know. The guy said something that struck me. He says, that's not the only boy in this place. There are other children here and there are other parents here. They are not complaining. Why is your one different? So if imagine that I'm having that kind of feedback from someone I'm married to, you know, she feels like it's not a big deal. You know, some people believe that the song is not bad. The lyrics of the song is what matters. We don't know that you are opening the whole home and you are endorsing someone's voice. And that's not the only song the person will sing. So if I play that song because of the lyrics, the next time I'm coming back, I'll hear another song of the person playing in my house. I don't care if Naira Marley sings a national anthem. I will not play it in my house. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to speak from a perspective of it is important for us to, we only play parts. We play parts. And the most important, input or the most important team is the family, the father and the mother. And you need to be on the same page to be able to do some of the things that we're going to be sharing here, right? All right. So thank you so much. I hope that's that's good enough for an introduction. I like to just do an activity of just to bring us here, to make sure we're all here. We know how to name our fingers, don't we? We know how to name it. What do we call this finger? The pointy finger, the index finger. So can I put this mic down? So everybody, let's see your index finger. Aha. So when I say who is alive, take your index finger, put it to your head, and then say I'm alive. Who is alive? Who is alive? Fantastic. Next one is you take your thumb, you put it out and point it to yourself. When I say who is awake, you say I'm awake. Who is awake? I'm awake. Well, let's start from the top. Who is alive? I'm alive. Who is awake? I'm awake. The next one is your middle finger. You cross it like this and say alert. Who is alert? I'm alert. Again from the top. Who is alive? I'm alive. Who is awake? I'm awake. Who is alert? I'm alert. The last one is enthusiastic. Let's go. Fantastic. So there's a song that goes with it, and we do it slowly. Alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Thank you. It's just this activity. From now, I'll not need to feel my hand. But then, thank you. Am I doing this right? Okay. Like this, right? It's blocking my view. Okay, thank you. So we started the song. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Great. I'm alive, awake. Sing it. Alert, enthusiastic. Here's the tricky part. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. One more time, this time faster. Two, go. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive. Somebody's just doing this. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm happy that we are here right now. Moving very quickly, parenting in a digital age. Parenting in the digital age. Very powerfully, the previous speaker had established that we're not in the same generation as our parents or as ourselves. We are not in the same generation. Our children are not growing in the same generation that we grew up in. And that brings a lot of questions, a lot of... we need to set the stage of our understanding. I don't like... It's blocking my view. Maybe it should have been like this. Sorry. Aha. This is much better, right? So my session will just quickly reframe how parents think about technology, right? And we would give ourselves some kind of context to be able to understand what technology is. The session is not necessarily about technology devices or apps, as it were, but then it is majorly about how parental authority in this time. That's basically what it is, right? Growing up, I was very, very active as a boy. By active, I don't want to use the word stubborn. Some other people call it stubborn. Me, I say I was active. I'm the kind of person that can get into a well for curiosity. I just want to see what's going on under the well. I remember when my father bought our first desktop, the first computer. It was working perfectly, but I wanted to know how is it working? So I took screwdriver and I opened the whole thing. It was a desktop. And when I was done coupling it back, I still had some parts outside. So I now opened it again so I can just put it back inside. Then my father came inside and he saw me with screwdriver, and then the computer was, so I was that active. I was curious, right? When you begin to think about what value technology has right now, it's different in different contexts. Some people look at technology as a rewarding tool. Some people look at technology or I'm talking technology in terms of phone devices and apps. They use it to reward their children. They use it to as a tool that they use to communicate with their children. Some of them is just entertainment. Different applications or different point of views parents have or people have of technology. But I was saying I was a very active and very interesting boy. So that when my parents are going out, those times, right, in primary school, my mom didn't like the long holiday. That one, after third term, that summer holiday, it was a prayer time for her. Because as she's going out, she will give all the instructions. Don't go to this place. Don't touch this one. Don't. And I'm from a family of 5 or 6. My younger brother came in when I was much older. We're 6 children. So it's hard for you to now have another. I was the 4th, so I had 3 elder ones. To now get another adult simply because you want to be able to check, it's not easy. So the adults around me, around those times, were my elder ones. I'm trying to give you a context of my growing up and how it's different from now. So the way my mom would give instructions, because both my parents were civil servants, is don't go here, don't do this, don't do that. And they give me very stern instructions. And sometimes my father will say, I don't want you playing in that field. And when I'm playing in that field and I see his car, oh my God, Usain Bolt has got nothing on me. I will get to the house. I don't know how I do it, but I will get to the house, be inside before he drives by. And it's a distance. So I will run. So the way they were able to instruct was very simple, very direct instructions. Don't do this. And they are able to know whether or not we do it. Because, when we come back, we look baptized. From head to toe, you are white. Your body is, so your mother knows. She doesn't need to be a prophet. She knows that you went exactly where she says you should not go, right? But then that's really what parenting is. Because you are responsible for the experiences that your children have in those formative years, those early years. So whether we're talking about digital, and of course that's the conversation we're having now, but I want you to look at it beyond just tech let us interrogate the psychological understanding that we have of what tech is and what it should do for us, right? That way we are able to more easily accept and understand some of the things that we'll be sharing. Because if we are not on the same page, I can just share with you my frameworks. I have a few here. And it will make sense to you, but it will be difficult for you to apply. It's like maths. If I'm explaining maths now on the board, I can say, so you just take the square root and then you just do this and then it will make sense. You say, yes, yeah. But then when you come to time to do it yourself, you realize that you really did not understand it. So it's the formation that we're trying to give. So parenting me in the 90s, I'll not tell you my age, very young. But parenting me is very different from parenting someone that was born after 2010. Because at that time, the concept I'm about to share was embedded into the technology of the day. So NTA, no matter how ambitious you are, you have to wait till 4 o'clock.
and then those red lines will start. And then they'll start with national anthem. Afterwards, you can now see some of the things. But now that's not the case. So that's a major difference. So when I'm telling you manage, control access, it was already done for us, for our parents in our time, right? It was done for them. No matter how you like it, you will not be able to see. The best you can have at those times is where maybe VHS. And in those times, for us also, VHS was heavily controlled, right? So that's one major difference. Our parents were custodians of information. If you needed to learn something, you ask your parent or your teacher. That's why your teacher can come in front of the class and say, "Did exactly what I said." And he can mark you wrong, and you'll probably not be able to defend or insist that you are right, or even present your, thought process. Parents and the teachers were the custodians of knowledge, right? So I can tell my child that, don't swallow orange seed, if not. And then the child is afraid, right? And we tell them that what are the other things that that our parents tell us? God bless you, ma. That one, that's a very serious one. It's a very, there's a term, the Bible calls it old wives' fables. Some of those things are not just bad, they are dangerous. That's what happened with Eve. Satan came to Eve and said, "Did God say you should not touch it?" That's not what God said. God said we should not eat it. He didn't say you should not touch it. I'm going somewhere with this. If we don't have a proper understanding of the terms of the concepts, we'll be easily fooled. So if Satan, the serpent, was able to convince Eve that if you touch it, nothing will happen, then Eve looked at it. The Bible says she saw it and it was good for food. So in terms of touching it, she knew that if she touched it, she would not die. But the problem is not to touch it. The problem was not to eat of it, not to take of it. So because she had in her mind, don't touch it, and now she's now before it, and it is beautiful, it's good for food, and it's desirable to make somebody wise, she's now able to better, or her walls, her defense is now reduced. Because first it was don't touch. Now it's really not don't touch, and the conversation has shifted entirely, and then she's in a place where she can easily compromise because she misunderstood the point. My point is, let's just ride with these two major differences. There are more, but let's ride with the two major differences. So this session is not really about technology, as it were. I'm not about to tell you. We will talk about that, I'm sure. Some parents that want to know exactly how to work with YouTube, for example. YouTube is safer. It's not safe. It's safer as compared to YouTube Kids, I beg your pardon. YouTube Kids is safer compared to YouTube. Doesn't mean it is safe. There are many harmful, dangerously harmful things on YouTube. Anything that can host Cocomelon. Aye. Anyways, I'm not against. We are creating content. We are creating all of that, like the man of God before me said. We need to create content, really. As parents, you need to create things, because that's what the algorithm is using to train. That's not the conversation. We're not talking about this for parenting. Okay, so the major concern when we talk about digital parenting for people is majorly safety. But on safety, I'll just say one thing, I'll move ahead. Because safety is a byproduct of understanding proper parenting authority. If you understand and you execute parenting authority properly, right, your child's safety is going to be a byproduct. So if you are a parent, if you wake up early in the morning and you're just thinking of all the different ways that your child can get into trouble, right, that's a very fast way to run out of energy. A better way to process that is to set systems that will take care of the whole. Like my parents will say, don't go to this place. They didn't say, don't break your leg, right? Because many times you go and come back with different complications. So parenting authority, exercising it properly is the other desirables of safety, of keeping them away from all kinds of harm. It becomes a byproduct, right? So I was recently in Ghana and I heard about a very painful story. A father was locked up in the prison for at least 3 days for a crime his son committed. He had no idea. But because the son is a minor, the Ghana police took him and locked him up for 3 days. Right? Very influential man, like a influential man. It's not a small man. It's a big deal, right? So your responsibility as a parent, as much as possible, or at least this session is trying to help us look away. Technology is going to be the center of it, but then it has a broader look. Because if they are not engaging technology, what are they doing? What should they do? What's the alternative, right? And that's why it's important that you don't just come up and say, give me that phone. Don't touch that phone again. What should the child do? Yeah, so that's basically it. So technology is not a problem. It's unstructured access to it that is. Okay. Let's talk a little bit again about what screens are doing. The previous speaker already said that, and I wrote some of the things he said that, so I'll just add my own to it. Some of the things that screens and digital technology is doing to our generation, or to the alpha generation, that was not quite the situation or scenario for us, is that it is significantly shortening attention span. And the previous speaker said about how does it do it? There is such a thing as dopamine and oxytocin, right? There are chemicals in the brain that get created under certain circumstances. So some of them, I'm not a psychologist. I know I'm butchering this, but I'm just giving my own understanding of it. You don't need to understand how the fuel is combusted in the engine and how the calibrators or the carburetors do their work and all. You don't have to understand it to drive. You just need to know the principle of driving. You sit down, gear, hold it, ignite. You understand what I'm trying to say? So if you want a deeper understanding into the nitty-gritties of what exactly happens in a person's brain, you probably would have to book another session with the child psychologist. But from an overview, please can I have water? Sorry. Thank you. From a generic overview, thank you so much, man. We see that certain chemicals are produced in the brains of children, of people. And those things happen under certain circumstances. So, for example, if you're going to get a dopamine hit in our time, you have to actually create something that gives you joy. Creating something, maybe you create, like for me, at that time, my curiosity, I told you about my computer. I want to be able to open the computer and look at it and say, okay, wow. And then couple it back. I feel good. I feel like I know something that my other person doesn't know. I feel that's my notification. What your child gets by simply doing this, it took me like 30 minutes to actually get there. When you see children who are bored, during our time, it was not a problem. I was in the program again, just to emphasize, I was in the program and we were addressing the children and somebody came and told me that the parents are bored. I'm like, that's not a problem. I don't have a problem with parents being bored. The parents can be bored. They've been bored, great. They can figure out how to do how to deal with their boredom. But for children in our generation, they are, okay, well, I'm talking about, let me not get ahead of myself. I was talking about short attention span, right? So we would have to go out and create play, even if there's no toy. We'll simulate, we'll pretend play. We'll have a doll baby. We'll say this doll baby is a grandmother. We'll create it. And at the end of the day, we're able to tell a story that gives us that fulfillment. It is physical, and it takes good time. Then you have to have a relationship with someone to be able to play. If not, they will not play with you. Have you heard it recently with your children now? I will not play with you. It's less than before. Before, if a child says, I will not play with you, or if someone tells me as growing up, I will not play, it's a problem. Because I know I'm coming out tomorrow. Right? So, see, with football, if somebody owns the football, he holds it like this, and then we select teams. The person with the football doesn't need to even think so much. The point I'm trying to make is that it takes a level of physical engagement to be able to get some of this, chemicals in our brain moving. But now it's not the same, right? So if we are going to, or at least it's not exactly the same, right? So if we're going to be interacting or talking about, how to parent the children whose realities are very different from ours. Okay, no, I really am rushing because I feel like I'm not going to have a lot of time, and then the short attention span issue spans from there. Because now you need to be able to coordinate over a long time, create a play, right? And if you need different players to play with you, or what do you call that now? Different people to play certain parts. We did police and thief. We did, remind me of some of the plays. Catcher, sway. We did pempe, all of those things. Those things take a level of creativity. We wrote songs. We actually wrote songs for the play. And then now, they don't need to do that. Mostly don't do that. The setup doesn't allow for them to do that. Another thing that happens with the difference with the children's, or what screens are doing, is that it is weakening emotional regulation. And our previous speaker also put that up. So because a child is not able to get what the child wants, he feels very irritable. Have you ever seen someone take a phone from a person, for example, a digital device, say, take it, and the child just throws tantrums? Oh, okay, let me laugh. The child throws a terrible tantrum, right? And many of these things are coming because it's not hard for me to get dopamine, right? They've been exposed so much to screens that if they see any level of The third point I wanted to state would help me reinforce this point. So let me state it. Parents' interaction with technology also influences how the children perceive technology. So the kind of excuse that you make to use technology, the kind of excuse that you make when you take away technology from your children. So for example, if you are restricting access to phones from your child, what do you say while you are doing it? You make it look like, I'm sorry, you are playing here too much. You are doing this one too much. This is too much. Or you make it an opportunity for them to understand why and how to use technology, so that they don't connect your taking or pulling away technology from them to your emotional state at that time. Because you are angry, that's why you're taking it away from them. Does that make sense? So if I'm a child and the only time I get to receive some kind of structure around technology is when my parent is not happy that I'm staying on technology, I'm staying on my phone. The only time what she says when she takes away the phone from me, what my father says when they take away the phone from me is suggest to me that they are not happy. That in itself is harmful to your child's understanding of what technology should do. And I have a short time, so we'll talk about some of the vocabulary. I don't want to get ahead myself. So it is weakening emotional regulation. So immediately they receive, and I'm using in terms of the technology context, it applies in every other area. Because how you do one thing really is how you do everything. But in terms of technology, is where it's shining. You take a phone from a child and he throws a tantrum. He's able to throw a tantrum because of his understanding of what you are angry, and then he has cried before and gotten his way. So he's going to try to cry until he gets his way. It's another conversation for another day. But then emotional regulation is quite difficult, more difficult. And then we talked about, this previous speaker spoke about it, and I will not even talk too much about it, is shaping identity and has become more external. The child's understanding of themselves depends on what they see online. It was a few years ago when I realized that I will never again take a celebrity's opinion. Seriously. Simply because they're celebrities. Your celebrity doesn't take much to be a celebrity or to be popular. It doesn't take much. Especially for the kind of things, or the kind of family, the kind of understanding that I have. Right? That you are popular doesn't mean I need to listen to you. Right. So I will not take a celebrity's word simply because they're celebrities. There is a system of vetting that I go through, I take you through before I say I listen to you. Because there are many popular people that are really, really crazy. Really crazy. And all of a sudden, because they are rich and they are popular, they now have an opinion. Right? And they begin to talk about things they have no idea about. Unfortunately, our children don't understand that. It is easier for I don't know their names, but let me just use this example. I don't have any personal problem with Chris Brown, right? But it's easier for Chris Brown to influence a child than maybe, or let me rephrase that. The influence Chris Brown has on a person, on a child, is very disturbing. Let me put it like that. Let me just say it like that. It's very disturbing. So simply because he can dance and he has a nice voice, he now comes on stage and tells your child how to think about God, how to think about life. And I'm using just as an example. So the exposure that we have to screens, the exposure that we have to digital technologies is, to a large extent, influencing how children's identity is shaped. So let's go straight to the frameworks that we have to be able to understand this. Now, there's no hard and fast rule, right? I have a 2-year-old in my house. What I'm going to do with my 2-year-old will vary very differently from how you're going to deal with your 7-year-old, for example, right? There is an analogy that one time that, apples could be poisonous. I think the seed of an apple has cyanide or something like that, so it could be poisonous. So will I say because apples are poisonous, I will not give my children apples at all? Or apples could be poisonous, or the seeds of apples could be poisonous. I'll not give my apples. I'll not give apples to my children at all. No, I will not say that. I will find the best way to remove the risk and remove the fluff and give the substance of the nutritional value of apples to my children. And that's basically really what the call is. Because that's what parenting in the digital age is. The first principle is that you yourself, to a large extent, it can be difficult, it can be hard. You don't need to know everything, but then you need to know some things. You need to be tech savvy. You need to be able to follow some of the instructions that I'll be showing you. Many people don't even know, their children have devices, but they don't know how to monitor. They only monitor when their children are watching. They don't know how to check history. They don't know how to, even set limits. So some of those things are practical things that we can probably go through if we have enough time to go over it. So the first principle or the first step is that you yourself, you have to know certain things. Some basic things about cybersecurity, for example. How to start up a conversation with your child regarding cyberbullying. What are the telltale signs? How do you say that now? How are the telltale signs that you look out for and know that, your child needs help? Right? So, the STEER framework I have is STEER, is set structure, take control, enable safety, engage, and raise maturity. Set structure, I'm fast, I'll go back again. First is set structure. The next is take control. And the next is enable safety. And the next is engage. And the final one is raise maturity. Just like a parent in our time, my father leaving the house will give those instructions. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Those are structure setting conversations. Set the structure. This is what I expect from you. This is what you should do. This is what I expect from you. Don't do this. Don't do this. It's very important to know what restrictions you're going to be giving to your children. Structure also talks about or speaks to the time exposure, so that to some extent, when you are enforcing control, and there are 3 levels of control, we'll talk about that. But when you are enforcing control, it's not because you are emotional it's not because of your current emotional state at that time. You know that you ask them to wash plates. Of course, there's a place for discipline and taking it because of discipline. All right, but then that should not be the only time when you are going to insist that they do certain things. Right? They drop their phone simply because it's not time for phone. It's a good enough reason. Or it is time for bed, or it's time for food, or it's time for something else. There's a time for everything. And when you are raising children, there should be a time for devices. That's the structure. In our time, in our day, that's how it should be. You must insist. If they are bored, let them do. Boredom has never killed anybody. As a matter of fact, boredom is even more advantageous to anybody that has experienced it. Because at that point now, your creative juices kick in. How do you engage yourself without using technology? So you insist that your children don't, have access to technology every time. My child has not reached that age. He's just experiencing how we use technology in the house. I just returned. I went for a trip for a while, but then there was a time I realized that there's a big screen in my house, television. I have a big television in my house. That television had not come on during the daytime for more than 2 months. And it's not because we are trying. It's just that I'm saying what I said about my mindset and my wife's mindset. We are very well aligned. It comes out at night because I pray in the night. And sometimes I use television to just play YouTube sound while I pray. So between 12, that's when it comes on. It turns off completely. So how I know is the same way I keep the remote and the stuff is the same place I see it every night that I come from. I have a 2-year-old. It's very difficult to keep things and come and meet it where it is when you are having a 2-year-old. So it's kind of the structure that I have now. When my child grows up, it's not going to be the same thing. You have a 7-year-old who is a lot more active or more curious. What you can do is no screens after television, after dinner. No screens at the dinner table. That one, whether you are happy or excited, doesn't matter. That's the law. So when your child thinks about screens, when you ask him, for example, go to do something in the parlor, and you say, put your phones down, he's not going to interpret that as my parent is not happy. There's no ground for throwing a tantrum, because that's what we do. We don't have phones after dinner time. You put your phone aside, go and sleep. If you are not sleepy, pray. Right? So set structures in a way that makes sense to your child for the way you are. Insist on them. The structures help you to not just appear to be erratic again or emotional. And it also helps your child with the tantrum. Right? I will not speak too much on that because there's no time. The next is take control. Taking control involves, there are 3 layers of digital control, like I said earlier. There is access control. So what devices do your child have access to? If you have multiple children in the house, do they have all individual devices? What devices are they permitted to go and use at will? Do they need a level of permission to maybe turn on the TV or access the internet? It's very important. There are different levels of parenting, and I jumped that or different kinds of parenting. I jumped that because, it would not necessarily be, it would take, I would have needed more time. But then you cannot be a passive parent. Just, what do they let them not cry? Don't cry. My mother used to say this, I've heard her say this many times, but then it makes more sense to me now that I'm a parent. So crying has never killed a child before. That thing has never blessed me as much as it is blessing me now when I see my son really, really crying because of something he really thinks he needs. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't need it. Don't cry. Or cry. Express yourself. It's fine. But it's not going to change where I'm standing, right? So access control is very important. What devices are allowed? What apps are installed? And on this, I will give a quick social media. My opinion, I don't believe, or in my opinion, I don't think Any child. And my introduction of, or my answer to the question of at what age should a child get on social media is as soon as the child has something to say. Anytime sooner than that is too early. And what's my definition of having something to say? Having something to offer. Have value. You cannot be coming on social media to inhale. Social media is where you exhale. So if I want my child to get on social media at age 10, maybe for standing out, maybe in music, for example, I will start when the child is 2 and start developing that skill so that what she'll be putting on social media will be what she's or he is a skill. That's where she's exhaling. That's my most liberal position. I have a more conservative position on technology exposure, on social media exposure to children. But this is my most liberal position. My child should not get on social media to be learning anything. No. You are not learning anything. If you want to have mentors, it is my responsibility, and I have a system as a parent for at least while you are my child, for choosing and pointing you to the right mentors. And you don't need to be on social media for me to do that. I can download their videos and we can have a movie night and we watch different, even if it's short clips. I don't know whether you know this. My time is going very fast. I don't know whether you know this guy, Frank Donga. That's the stage name. About 8 years ago, I don't know. I think it's 2000. It's the long time ago. He started creating these interview skits. Anybody seen those? I found it so funny. Like, I in my opinion, he was the best skit maker. Up to now, I still watch those things and I rank him higher than all of those people. So if I'm going to be talking to my child, for example, about if my child comes up and is interested in comedy, he doesn't need to be on social media to develop comedy. I will download Frank Donga's videos, and then once in a while, because that's not all you'll be doing as a child, once in a while we can have those exposure. I have systems that we can be able to. I have been given a red card. My goodness. Okay. So let's just talk about this framework, and then we'll go ahead. The next level of just on access again, I wrote that no personal smartphones before a certain age. If you have multiple children, let them share the phones. Because what are they using the phone for, really? We need to understand what the phone is for. If it's a home phone, let it be a home phone. And then they can learn to share. They can learn to interact using one device. There's no point getting multiple devices for children. And again, depending on the age group. But then I'm just giving this as possible explorations you can do when you're talking about access control. You can have shared family devices. Next is time control. And to be able to do this effectively, there are many features on your phone. Because I was going to show practically, but then I don't think I have time for that, and I don't think we even probably will need that much. But I just need to let you know that there's such feature that you can control how much time should be spent. You can log in on a new device with your email address as a parent and create children Gmail addresses for your children. So what that does for you is that it gives you notifications when you are interacting or your children are, or online. When your child is beyond spending time, for example, you have a conversation and you say, okay, let's spend just 30 minutes a day. And then your child is being online for more than 30 minutes. You get a notification. That's what it does. And then some features, if you're using, is available on both Android and iOS. You can actually lock the phone remotely. So if I'm in the US, you have that, right? Fantastic. So we already have people doing that. But then you must have time control. Your children must be able to be stopped online. One other thing you can do is not just turn off the phone, because there are certain productive things that can be done on the phone. And I teach some of those things, especially if they are learning something, they're learning a skill and all of that. You can turn off the internet. You can turn off the internet. In fact, to some extent, I teach teachers who teach technology on how to create a local LLM like a chat GPT. It's not chat GPT, it's a large language model that interacts with you as chat GPT that doesn't require internet. So you can have those kinds of conversations. So if you have something like that in your child's, devices, it can help a lot. And then the last is content control. So the first is access control, time control. If you're working with children between age 3 to 8, or 5 to 8, 3, all those things. My son is 3, so I don't even need to negotiate. It's when I want him to watch that we watch, and many times he will kick, and that's fine. But then have alternatives. If you're not going to be using technology on them, create the alternatives for them. Don't just say, don't do this, and not give them what to be doing in that time, right? So if you come to my house now, my sitting room is like a play group class, because my son doesn't really watch, screens so much. So he's building something. If I have a bag of sand somewhere there, so that my wife, you men are here, you don't want them playing outside on this ground and everything. Create something safe enough where they can be able to experience these things hands-on. So if you are not happy with them maybe on the ground outside, pack the sand. My wife actually washed it. She washed the sand, and then we packed it into this, washed it and rinsed, got it, and then put it somewhere, and the boy is playing, right? So it's very important that you are giving them alternatives. But if you have a child between ages 5 to 8, their access to digital technology has to be supervised at the very least. That means you will be there to see what they are seeing. Yes, you should. If you have to use a device as a platitude for example, just don't stop shouting. I think you are using it wrong. I think you are using it wrong. So you should probably, look out to supervise and to see what they're doing. And when maybe it is 9 to 12, then you can give them maybe a little bit of leverage. Of course, you are seeing, you can be able to view their history, create a routine around it. Maybe if a question comes in that wise, we'll be able to address. But then you are able to give them a structured access. 30 minutes a day is what you need, right? And then, with teens, you have to negotiate. You're working with teens, you have to negotiate. And, one of the things I heard recently as I round up, there's still a lot that we could have spoken about, but I'm sure we'll have time to address specific questions during the panel session. I heard a heartbreaking story of a young boy. I met him about 4 years ago. I was an admin in one of the schools here in Abuja. So he came for an IT. And I thought he was a fantastic young man, and we interacted and served, and he left. Last week, I was just speaking with his mom, and the mom told me now he's doing drugs, and he's in a rehabilitation center somewhere. And, it was very painful, and, just going through all of that. And on interacting with the mother to just understand, the circumstances that surrounded the child's development, like the psychologist was saying, the environment, the micro, the external, and the macro, all of those things. You were not there. You don't understand. Your child didn't feel safe around you. You cannot have conversations about questions, real questions that they have. And then when the child is a teenager, you attend he's acting up. He's not doing well. He's not even probably not started taking drugs yet, but he's not obeying the way you want him to. Then you attend the parenting seminar and they tell you, oh no, you have to be understanding, you have to, and then you just take it hook, line, and sinker, and you bring it home. And your teenager now knows how to manipulate. Because that's what you were trying to do. You're trying to get a result that relationship should have brought through manipulation. So you went and you learned how to make my teenager act well. And then you know the act, you learn the script, you come home. Child is it's not stupid. He'll be able to see through that. And then he say, okay, let's play the game. So in a nutshell, that's what happened. The child could see through what the mom was trying to do. Well-intentioned, but then at the end of the day, there are certain things that you need actually to spend time to properly do. All right? Because of the time, I'm going to have to stop now. And thank you so much. I look forward to the question and answers session.